coffee.
Let's see if I think we're live. I'm Dr. Sharnael Wolverton-Sehon, and I'm about to have to. Oh, my hair's sticking up. We got Pryme Minister here with us. I'm gonna have to change this post to not just be for me, but everybody. Public. There we go. Public. We public with Pryme Minister here today. Actually met you through Jason Q. Technically, which I mean we haven't. This is our first time to talk. We talked like 2 minutes on a phone call, and then I was like, "Oh my gosh, we need to have this live."
Most definitely, so, it was getting serious.
I'm going to, let's see, I can tag you on this Twitter real quick because I think we're live on Twitter, and then you can share. Just want to make sure people are getting this. But why we are doing that, I would love to hear wherever you guys are from, what you're doing, where are you in the world today, while I'm just getting this set up. Pryme Minister 306. What's 306? That's the area code?
On Pryme 306.
So, hey, Jeannie. Hey, Nancy. What's up? All right. I just retweeted it, and I tagged you so you could retweet. It should be live, but so we have a few mutual connections, I'll say, besides Jason Q. I just happened to hop on your video. First of all, I'm Dr. Sharnael Wolverton with Sehon with swiftfire.org TV, True TV, and this is Pryme Minister. And thank you for helping me get through all the technical stuff. I met him through Jason Q. And hopped on a video this morning that he was doing about Clement.
Yeah.
So immediately I was like, oh my gosh, she's talking about Clement. So first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, Pryme, and I want to make sure everyone can hear your story a little bit.
Well, I guess you can just say that I was called to ministry as a young man, probably about the age of 19. I served the Lord for about, 15 years, close to 20 years, maybe like 16, 17 years, something like that. And, was a faithful minister, was a prophetic minister. I was very much engaged in a lot of outreach and just a crazy spiritual life. It was a very, as you know, the spiritual life is just not something you can probably talk with the average everyday person. But, my life was spiritual like that. And I had a meltdown, to say the least, towards the end of the Obama administration. And, I guess you can say I fell into a dark place in my life. It was horrible and just was no good. And I was blessed because at the same time, Trump was being elected and QAnon was coming out, and it was kind of like I had been on the wall for a whole lot of years, and here I am now while I'm in this dark place seeing all these things happening in the world. And I was just like, wow, I was facing a lot of time in prison without going into the details, but I was facing a lot of time in prison. At that time, I sought repentance and I sought God's face, and, I got a second chance, so I'm here. Said I'm going to do something with my life, and here I am doing this right now. And I guess you can say I had a stain on my name and a stain on my spiritual calling, because I had fallen into this dark place. And so I guess I was like this backslidden minister who at one time was a very upright, disciplined, good, solid minister, good-hearted, and all the good stuff. And General Flynn calls for the digital soldiers. I started to do that. Now I have a background in rapping and editing videos. And so I just felt I can get on this platform, and there's a lot of things that I could do to, to help people wake up. And my stuff started to go viral. I started having several videos that went viral. I made a video that Michael Jackson was still alive. It went viral. I made a video that Robert Trump was still alive. It went viral. I started reporting a lot about John F. Kennedy Jr. being alive. It started to go viral. And so my stuff started to just grow on the platform. But mainly I started to realize that prophetic ministry from my other life seemed to be kind of in a certain way was being used in this new thing with QAnon and everything. So a lot of people were thinking I was just like having no background in this. Maybe I was just some guy randomly just talking about Trump and all that. So that's pretty much what it was. Kim Clement played a big part of that. Now I know you knew Kim Clement, which I can't wait to hear more about how he was and everything. He played a big part in that, and this is one of the things that connected me to him. Besides the prophetic piece in terms of what God was doing with America, however, you know what I mean, it was some more personal things, and it was because I stumbled across a Kim Clement prophecy before Trump was elected. And when I saw it, I was like, nah, this can't be real, you know? So I was very skeptical and, but it was kind of always in the back of my mind, this guy who I heard with this prophecy, and he just seemed like he was caught up in the spirit and all that. And when Trump came in and I started to, my spiritual senses started to really hone in on the fact that he was literally fulfilling these scriptures about, the coming of the Lord, but then also Kim Clement. So I went back to look for the guy who made these prophecies to look at the prophecies again, and he was not alive. After his prophecies were fulfilled, he passed away.
Sorry, keep going.
And so what was interesting about that was when he passed away, and I checked to see the date, I saw that it was 11/23, and that's my birthday. 11/23 is my birthday. But 11/23 was and that was really how God really made me truly understand how important of a person Kim Clement was in this time, that it happened on my birthday. But there was a couple other connections that people don't know about. 11/22 is when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. And most people know that from the time that John F. Kennedy was assassinated, we kind of entered into a new day. You know what I'm saying? It was a day in which there was a complete and total, I guess you could say, a Luciferian control over the United States government. And so in a sense, that's what the 11/22 represented. But the 11/23 represented something different. Now, because it's my birthday, I always ask God, why is my birthday the day after John F. Kennedy was assassinated? Because every time you're in school and you're talking about it, it's just like it's always that day that's so close to my birthday. And I always thought about it. So as I got older in life, as an adult in my calling, I started to really seek understanding about that date. So it was put on my heart to kind of like to study what is the meaning of 11/23. Well, it's the number when you decode it in the spiritual language. The 11 is really one. It's 1 and 1 is 1. So it's not 11. Okay, when the 1 and 1 is together, they appear together as 1. So the real number is 1, 2, 3, and it represents the perfect divine order of God. It represents.
Oh my God! And I sent you the text at 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is, yeah. I was like, yeah, and that's the thing for me and Bob Jones. I don't know if you know anything about Bob Jones, but
this is getting weird.
I know, this is crazy. I was like, oh look, 1, 2, 3, 4. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry,
That's crazy.
I got excited. You see my text that says, oh my God, look, 1, 2, 3, 4. But anyway, go ahead.
That's crazy.
You said doing it now. And I said, I looked and said 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is, literally doing it now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything's aligned.
Everything is happening now. Yes. So it's bringing us into this perfect divine order. And when I see all of the things that's happening, I hate the fact that it's overlooked. I hate the fact that, that he's not being properly honored. He should be honored. And with the anniversary of his death coming up, he should be honored. So that's what that was about. And a lot of times, and I know a lot of times in the QAnon movement, we're trying to predict the days and we're trying to predict, what's going to happen next and what's going to happen with the arrest. But there's a whole nother level to it that's far much more deeper than that. And we shouldn't be by any means overlooking the true prophet who should be given the credit for what's happening now.
So, I would think that there's some sort of, I'm just going out on a limb. Are you feeling the connection of like his death and your birth, like something like you picked up some of the essence of the mantle of the man who walked. Yeah. I'm just.
You said it. I did it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you probably may have, and also that's just seems a little too fishy. That something.
Right.
I mean, well, so coming from like the Bob Jones type place, if you hadn't heard anything about him, it's often talked about how when the mantle will be laid down of a man who passes, who ascends, that the mantle is picked up by however many more people. And so unless a seed falls and drops into the earth, that there's no multiplication. And so with it has to be. I mean, come on. It just has to be. But same thing with people like Oral Roberts and Kim Clement and big name people that Bob Jones when he passed. I have a friend named Gary Young, and the people of today when they go, that ascension just give them more of a connection to be everywhere with everybody, and so they never really go. They're just in a different dimension, and it empowers and it can empower any of us who pick up those mantles. I mean, I say spiritual mantles. I don't believe in a physical. I got the mantle now, but yeah. Right. But that is interesting. So I'll be honest. So Kim and I've known Kim since I met Bob Jones in the late 90s. Do you know anything about Bob?
I can't say that.
Oh my God, you gotta look into it. So he is kind of like the papa of all the prophetic people that are alive right now. I mean, including Kim Clement. They knew each other, and he ministered to lots of different people. Okay. John Paul Jackson and Larry Randolph and John Wimber out in California. I mean, Kansas City Prophets. He was kind of just like a real. You would love him. Anyway, at I think it was 9 years old, he was struck by lightning, and when he came to, he had a remembrance of some things that happened, and also he couldn't read or write before he was struck by lightning, and when afterwards. He had a photographic memory and all kinds of things happened. Kind of similar to Jason Q, where he got hurt. He went to sleep. He woke up. He was completely healed. And he had a new brain where he could just I think we get more activated with some of this stuff when we're hit with a high frequency. We're supposed to have like 98% of our brain. But I think with the activation, then we can be like Lucy in the movie and just like, woo. And I think that's where Jason is. And a lot of people who've had that, they can see code and no code. So I had an experience at 4 kind of similar. And then I was part of some other projects that kind of instigated some of those things. I don't work it out the way Jason does necessarily, or Bob or whoever, but it's in my field. And then also very prophetic. And that's why I was targeted. But we can come together. And what I'm seeing is all the people who are coming together, they're really amplifying each other and working with each other. And so I met Kim. I actually went to Oregon to do a prophetic school, a week-long school with him and a guy named Graham Cook. And that was kind of the beginning of my introduction to Kim. And he was coming to Louisiana where I was living not long after that. And when he did, he called out my birthday. You know how I don't know if you're familiar or if you've ever seen him in meetings. I've been to so many meetings where he was there and he would get someone's social security cards. I mean, the number, street name, he would just call people out basically by their first, last, middle name, address from when they were 9 years old. I mean, he just was in another dimension to be able to really see code, hear code, and really flow with the source code. And so he called me up that time and he told me a lot of stuff. And when he was finished talking, I don't know if you've ever seen him, but he goes like a little ADD where he'll like blah, 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 talk to you, have you stand next to him or have you stand up where you are. And then he'll be like, oh, and then he's off to someone else and someone else, someone else. So when he went off to someone else, I was like tiptoeing off the stage to be like, bye-bye. And then he was like, no, stay here. So he just kept on. And when he would move, he wanted me to go everywhere he went. And I, at the time, was just like, why am I saying this to this guy? But there's transference in the field. And he knew what he was doing. He was trying to, or not trying, but he knew that he was giving me code of just understanding how to see code, work code, and activate my own code. And so now so 3 or 4 times during the meeting, he kept doing that. And then 5 other meetings that I went and saw him at, and he wouldn't even know I was coming. I mean, I would be in another place. I went to California or wherever he was, and I would show up and I would just be in the back, and he'd call out my birthday again, or he'd call out something. Now, I don't even think he remembered or knew that it was my birthday, but he would just get stuff, and then I would be up there again, and he would have me follow him around again. And it got to be where it was just hilarious. He knew stuff about my cousin. He knew stuff about my dad. He knew I had just lost a baby. He knew I'd be pregnant again. I mean, he called forth months and dates and like everything. And so, that is an interesting level of experience. And yeah, I had a download about Trump in 2007. And it was about 2 weeks later, I heard that Kim said something similar. It was sort of like we would just get in this crack of information where we would get the same things. And I'm not saying the same thing about me. I'm just saying between all the people that I've been working with over the time and whatever God had for me, I would notice that I would get something posted and he would be posting something that same day or later or the next day and vice versa. And there were a few other people that were doing kind of the similar things. So I just felt so close to him. But I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry. But,
Awesome, man. God bless you.
yeah. So I actually had a dream before he passed. And in the dream, he came to me and he said, I want to give you my house.
Woo!
And I was like, what? And so he brings me to this ginormous house. And it's white and it's 2-story and has a big pool in the background and the backyard. It's on a bunch of acres, had like a balcony in the back. And I think there was like 1,000 people there. I mean, there's so many people, every color, every creed. There were so many people. And he would follow me. He brought me around house to house to show me all the rooms because there's so many rooms. And I said, Kim, who are all these people? And he was saying, he was like, oh, these are my people. And they're my friends and I love them. And I was like, okay. And he said, if you take the house, you get all the people. And I was like, wow, okay. I was thinking, I don't know what that looks like. We're all going to be like sleeping bags all over wall to wall or how that works. But I just took it. And then he said, I knew this mansion had to be so much money, because it was just a mansion. And I was like thinking, in my mind in the dream, thinking, I'm not going to be able to afford this, And he must have picked up on it because he said, I don't want you to worry about the money because it's the same price that you would have had to pay for the house you're in now. And I was like, okay. And I knew my house. I mean, I was just in a little tiny house and I'm thinking, how is that even possible? But he was going to sell it to me the cost was the same. And anyway, I agreed to the house, to taking his house. And
wow.
When I woke up, I was emotional and we went to Disneyland and I was with my kids and we were standing in front of the Tower of Terror. And I got a call that he passed away. So, I mean, I couldn't even move. I was just frozen and it was just, anyway, so I get what you're saying about that passing on. And I don't know how that works out exactly, but I know, people will send me things that he has said. And you could go back and he talks about Q. He talks about Trump. He talks about a lot of things that have come to pass even since he's ascended. And I don't know how all that looks for you or me, but it's deep, man. It's so deep. And maybe we're all in the same house, right?
We all in the same house.
Maybe we got the same house. Maybe you were in that house and I saw you and it's your house too. I think we all got the house after he passed.
Yes.
And yeah. So sorry about crying. I just get.
No, I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel the same way, man. I really.
Yeah, when you came on and talked about his birthday, like my heart, like my very energy of my body was vibrating, just thinking like, oh my gosh, you're right. I hadn't really thought about it coming up. I know it was during Thanksgiving week, but I hadn't like mapped it out of like when it is. And
it's the anniversary of his death.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's also the anniversary of the birth of many.
The man should be honored. It's only right and it's proper. And as a part of us stepping into divine order, that's one of the things that we should do. We shouldn't allow the backwardness of dysfunctional. I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to say that we have to take the lead in terms of the light in this era. As we step into the Great Awakening, those of us who are of the light of Christ, are not to be in the background, being overshadowed by nonsense, and causing this next dispensation to enter into the same darkness that the last one just came out of. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to understand that this time that we're coming into now is the time of the ruling and the reigning of the government of God. The church has to evolve. The church is not going to be the same in this era. This is not the era of church. This is the era of the nation.
Dominion.
The nation. We have become a nation. I want a holy nation. That's what he wants. He wants his church to become a nation, a government. That's what he wants us to become in a spiritual sense. So we can't have the dysfunction and the separation and all that. What we just came out of is the most dysfunctional dispensation in the history of mankind. 7,000 denominations of Christianity, zero political power, zero cultural power, to the extent to where a force like the New Order can move in on territory that we supposed to be holding. This is our territory, this land, this culture, the government, our, entertainment, all that. That's for us to be governing, and they can come in here, completely have their way, and we can do nothing about it. It's not because we don't have money. We have lacked the light and the spirit and the guidance to
courage.
Yeah. So this is our time to reign. We can be nothing like the last era. So we got to be ferocious when we have to be.
Well, the scripture says that we are here to occupy and to commission. We're sent to occupy. What does occupation look like? It includes government. And I have so many people who are like, well, we're just praying and, got to work it out. And, I trust the government and it'll work. It's all, and I've even heard people in the church who are saying, well, if Biden is the leader, we need to get behind Biden. And yes, if he ends up being the leader, which is going to be wrong if he is. But I will support whoever once they sort this out. But they've already, obviously there's a red wave and cheating is involved and fraud is involved.
Yeah.
And babies are involved. There's a lot of things going on here that is dark. And I agree. We're sent to occupy. We are commissioned to occupy. And that word commission means to co-mission, meaning collaboration is required. And as we collaborate, we cross-multiply, we cross-pollinate. And this causes this amplification and multiplication.
You get it.
Yes.
God bless you, man.
But it's a co-mission, not just with source, but with light who is already in our DNA. God is already in our DNA. and we're finding each other. Like I found you. I mean, we're finding, you found Jason Q. I mean, there's all these people we're connecting. And I don't know about you, but in the last, like what they meant for evil in the last few months, I have found more awake people in my entire whole ministry career.
Yeah.
And I'm an naturopathic doctor, so, and I really, really focus on helping people get integrated with mind, body, spirit, and that whole integrity. The word integrity comes from integrated, being integrated, like having the whole thing. But if we sit out on the bench and we don't stand up for our rights and I don't want to say fight, but hold our ground.
Yeah, but it is fight. And this is what the thing, we have to understand that good and tough go together. And that's one of the things that, you can't have a badge without a gun. I tell people all the time, you can't have a badge without a gun. You can't tell everybody, listen, I want you to understand something. Please do not touch my treasure. But if you do, I will not do anything. Okay?
There's no consequence. There's no cause and effect.
Right.
There's got to be some order. The whole 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it. Right? There's got to be order. There can't be just lawlessness where everyone gets to do whatever. There has to be some basics. You don't hurt me. I don't hurt you. I don't steal from you. You don't steal from me. Just the basic normal things. And when that is not happening, then if we don't stand up and we don't keep dominion,
yes,
this is a dominion war. The dome.
That name, how it popped up, ain't how that name popped up in this whole voter fraud thing?
Yep. And there is a dominion there's a dome, there's a kingdom in our biofield, and then there's the kingdom, which is the collective biofield. And as we work together, like whatever we think about, talk about, feel, that creates this code in the dome, the kingdom. We have our own personal kingdom, and then we have a planet kingdom, and we are called to have dominion and to commission our own kingdom first. But that collective energy with source code changes the face of our planet. If we choose. Now, it's a choice.
It's a choice.
It's a choice. Oh, and if we don't make the choice, I believe we're at the tipping point where it's like do or die here, right here. I mean, it is like light must win, or we're going on a whole different timeline.
Exactly. And that's why I'm not playing with it. I'm not playing with the devil. I'm letting you know I got my finger on the trigger. That's a fact. You know what I'm saying? So the minute you just decide that you want to be devilish, you know what I mean, we're going to get right to it, because I'm never going to allow Satan to rule over this earth again. You know what I'm saying? If I have a chance to do something about it. You know what I'm saying? As we come into this time of light, authority is given to us. It's not just power. It's authority too. This is an ordained time. It's a part of the will of God. So we do this with governance too. We do this underneath the proper divine order of God. We are not operating outside of his divine plan. So therefore, trespassers must be dealt with.
Well, I'm going to tell you about Will. So when I was really working in the church, and before I bridged over to wellness and going back to school to get my doctorate to help people as a naturopath, I kept having these dreams that said, it's time to meet Will. It's time to meet Will. It's time to meet Will. So I had traveled a lot. I was traveling a lot, and I woke up and I'm like, hey, is anything on the schedule, a Pastor Will or a William or a Bill or Billy or anything the church we're going to, anything connecting with Will? Because I kept getting that Will, and like nothing showed up. So fast forward, I found myself in a health crisis, and I went to this doctor, and he had all this like high technology stuff, and he starts testing me on some things. And, what he told me is that most disease is 86% emotional related. And so I was like, that's interesting. And so he was doing this test with his technology, and he hands me this piece of paper, and it was like a clipboard with paper on it. And as soon I'm hooked up to this stuff, and he hands me the paper, and as soon as I take the paper, he's trying to figure out where I am, right? And I'm hooked up, and he hands me the paper. As soon as I touch the paper, the machine starts making all these crazy sounds like game over, like a video game died or something. I was like, oh, what is that? And you can see the doctor's face. He's like, oh, and I'm like, okay, that's not a face you want to see the doctor make. So I'm like, what's on the paper? So I look on the paper, and the paper says, I am beautiful. It said, you are beautiful. You are loved. You have a call. All this, great things. And he said, normally when I give this to someone, they'll start reading it and there's a reaction, but you just like physically touched it and the machine went crazy already. And I was like, oh my God. I said, what does that mean? He said, it means you don't believe anything on the paper. And I was like, what? And like, here's me at the time, full-time ministry, preaching, the gospel, the truth, love. And I'm like, oh my God, I am such a bad rep for Jesus if I don't believe none of that. I'm like, of course I know I'm loved. Of course I know all the, I'm called, stuff like that. It's like, I thought I knew, right? So I'm like, there's no way. This is not true. And he was like, no, your body is showing that you are not in agreement. And so he explains like how there's a conscious level and a subconscious. So something on my subconscious was running a tape that I'm not those things. Up here, I might have been like, I'm those things. But there was something in my DNA that's like, I don't agree with that. So there was like miscoding that was going out to the biofield, which was creating misinformation and lots of chaos. So what he did, I said, oh my God. So how do I fix it? And he goes, hold on. He takes the clipboard from me and he writes at the top, I am. And then he put will, or I will. He put, I will. And he hands it back to me and the machine doesn't do anything. I said, help me understand. And he said, I want you to read it now, but I want you to say, I will that I'm beautiful. I will that I'm called. I will that I'm loved. And I was like, what? So I did. I said, I will that I'm called, and the machine was just fine. And I said, what happened? And he said, your will is 250,000 times stronger than your own spirit, because we have the choice. We have the responsibility. And your willpower is crazy. And then all of a sudden I hear, it's time to meet Will. Remember? That's what I kept getting in the dreams. It's time to meet Will. It's time to meet Will. It's time to meet Will. And I'm like, who's Will? And then I go see this guy and he's like, you got to get in your will. You got to get in your willpower. It's stronger than any currency in the frequency. It's just choosing, making the choice, giving your willpower, making an action, a faith and action decision choice within you that becomes your belief, to be alive in it. Not just to think about it, but to actually believe, be alive in it. So I would say to everybody out there, it's time to meet Will, dude. Like, let's get our willpower and not just be like, oh, well, I'm praying. And prayer is very, very, very powerful. No joke. Like, especially in unison. But also there are steps to take, like go vote, which some people did, or post something, or be a digital warrior, or tell your friends, like, don't put yourself under a bushel when you can shine, like call your senators and your congressmen, like get in it.
Right.
So that's kind of where I am.
I just learned a lot of stuff today, man.
Well, people will say, oh, I don't get in politics. I'm a Christian, or I'm spiritual. I don't really get in all that. I just love, it's like, well, you can sit out and I promise you somebody else will come in and make the laws for you that you got to live in.
That's something.
And your kids will got to live in, your grandkids got to live in, and that'll change the whole direction of the universe.
Right.
Or you could stand up and govern with the authority that's in your DNA. Right. And sometimes that takes bloodshed.
Sometimes it takes that. And it is what it is. It's whatever and whoever is in the way of this freedom here that we're pursuing.
So what would you say to everybody in this season of waiting for finding out what's really going on with the ballots and what have you, and just any final words here before we wrap up? Because I know you're doing stuff too, but
I would just say to remember to spread your light, your love, your energy. Try to be better and better every day. Try to stay united with the collective. It's a sacrifice to be united. A lot of people want unity, but they don't want to unite. And this is a fact. I figured that out. They want unity to kind of just exist as a default, but they don't want to be intentional in pursuing unity, because unity requires a certain level of sacrifice and compromise, because you realize that the collective is so important that your petty differences must be set aside. And everybody doesn't have that level of sophistication. They're so into their political interpretation and their own analyzation, and they're, trying to be right, that they separate themselves from everybody else. They don't want to be a part of the collective. They want to be the one who knows and the only one by themselves. But in the meantime, while they boosted their own fame, they hurt the collective, but then they act as though they're a friend. You're not a friend. It's where we go one, we go all. And so the unity is not just important from a political voting perspective, but the unity is important for raising that vibration. And that's what we're trying to achieve. So though we may have some minor differences, we put that aside, because we all agree that we want freedom.
Yes. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a choice. It's a choice. And don't you think that the media is really messing with us, like trying to make it look worse than it really is? Because I'm in the South, and where I live, we're all together, and everyone just walks around, and I might just be in a bubble of my crazy unity, but I'm not seeing stuff.
It's never been as bad as the media makes it seem, and the media makes it so bad. You know what I'm saying? The media make it seem, when there's a shooting of an unarmed black guy or something like that, and they'll play the clip 1 trillion times every day, just keep playing it over and over. And I said, man, what's crazy? All my life, I've been black, and I've never known anybody that get killed by a cop. I don't know nobody, man. There's nobody getting killed by cops, man, in reality. And though it may happen here and there, and a lot of times, and even when it does happen, a lot of times they don't tell the full story. So there's a lot of times it's just a thing where, because we've never really, it's a sensitive topic. The conspirators always go for the weakest link, and race is one of them. And I tell people a lot of times, we have to be intentional about wanting to build unity in our country, even on a cultural level. So then that way, the conspirators won't have an easy target like that, because there's a translation gap, there's a generation gap, there's an understanding gap. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, nah, we sit down at this table of brotherhood, that we call it a table of brotherhood. Martin Luther King said, table of brotherhood. They're going to one day sit down at the table of brotherhood. The sons and daughters of the former slaves, the sons and daughters of the former slave owners will one day sit down at the table of brotherhood. And this is how we're going to make the world a better place. We're going to learn from the past and make the future better. It's behind us. We don't even speak on it. I had a problem with a brother of mine, and we had a little falling out. And, he was in my inbox, and he was, hey, brother, man, I'm sorry. And man, I said, man, that's behind us. And he just so happened to be, a Caucasian brother. But it doesn't really make a difference. I'm just saying that's just the irony of our conversation right now. But I'm just saying, and I said, brother, that's behind us. You think I'm sitting here thinking about what happened 3 months ago? Man, I can care less. Let's get back to, stomping the devil and doing what we do on this digital battlefield. You know what I'm saying? So we have to do that as a people too.
I love that. And you're right. They don't show the whole story. And my dad was military. My son is he's a Ranger, and
okay.
When you're in a situation like that, and you got like a couple seconds to make a choice, you got to think about their family too, and their kids and whatever. And you don't always. It's just a scary thing.
You also have a lot of cops who lose their lives in duty.
Yeah. All colors.
All colors. Yeah, you got black cops. You have black cops that have killed black people. You know what I'm saying? And so, like I said, because it's one of those things that we haven't touched, it's always easily exploited, because there's a translation gap.
They don't put the whole story that this guy was on drugs and killed whatever and raped a little girl earlier that day, or you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I wish instead it's just now there's rioting and whatever. And it's like, oh my gosh, let's think for a minute. Let's have some critical thinking in general and think there might be more to the story. And maybe you're not that person who is in that situation. Now, are there corrupt cops? Freaking yeah. Both colors too. You know, just like there's corrupt teachers.
But I'm gonna tell you what, that's one of the problems. That's why, and I've said that, and the President Trump brought accountability to the police department, which was smart. Because if you're gonna be righteous, you have to be just, you have to be fair. Even when justice has to come to your door, you have to be just, or you're not qualified. You're not qualified.
And the word righteous means to be in right standing, to have integrity, to be integrated.
You got to. If it may hurt sometimes, because sometimes sometimes it hurts. Sometimes saying sorry and stuff like that is, but God exalts the humble. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Well, I hope that we can do this again and maybe have a part 2 or what have you. But man, I love your vibe. I was just like, oh my goodness, I gotta get you on.
Yeah, God is good, man. I'm honored to meet you, man, and I'm anxious to learn more about the General Ken Clement and learn more about his life. Kim Clement, pardon me. I don't know why I keep saying Ken Clement. I know his name is Kim Clement, but I constantly say Ken Clement. But
well, we're in the same house apparently, so I'll see you around.
Loud and clear.
But definitely, you guys make sure to follow him. Tell us where people can follow you and find you.
Okay, I'm on YouTube, Prime Minister. I spelled my name with a Y right on the screen. Prime Minister, and just WW1 WGA. From where we go one, we go all. It's right on YouTube. Prime Minister WW1 WGA.
Awesome. And then you're on Twitter, and I think you got a Facebook page I saw. So
I'm on Twitter at Prime306.
Tell you what, send me all your links if you don't mind, like a clickable link, and I will put it in the YouTube. I'll put it right here in the Facebook so people can just click and find you right away. And I have a feeling we're going to see each other soon in the house.
We're in the same house.
Yes, we're definitely all in the same house. So you have a wonderful day. Keep shining. Keep ready. And for all y'all out there, we love you. Thanks for hanging out with us for a few minutes. And I hope to see you guys in the future. You guys can go to swiftfire.org and get on my newsletter, because people's platforms are being taken down right and left. Cancel clear. Mine's not going anywhere. But go to swiftfire.org and get the free newsletter. I send out videos, blogs. I'm on YouTube. Get to Facebook, Twitter, all of them, just to find me that way. If one goes down, we can still keep in the house. And look forward to seeing you in the future, Mr. Prime Minister. You have a great day.
Back at you, my sister.
All right. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Peace.